This is the last video for solving quadratics by factoring. This is for the Blended Algebra 2 class, practice number 2. So I'll do 3 problems on this video. Remember, when we are factoring or solving by factoring, we need to make sure that our quadratic is set equal to 0 to start, which is what we have here in number 5. I have a trinomial 2b squared minus 3b minus 2. I start by looking for GCF to start, which it doesn't look like there is one. 2, 3, and 2 don't have a greatest common factor. So since there are 3 terms, I'm going to use the method of split the middle to factor here. For split the middle, I multiply the first and the last term together to get negative 4. I'm going to list all the numbers that multiply to negative 4 so I can find a pair that adds to negative 3. When I'm multiplying to be a negative, I'm going to need one positive and one negative number. So for example, I'll have the factors of negative 4 are 1 and negative 4, 2 and negative 2. Now I have to switch those signs. So I would have negative 1 positive 4, and I'll just write it this way, negative 2 and positive 2. Well, I need the pair that adds to negative 3, which looks like it's going to be 1 and positive 4. I chose those numbers. Now the way split the middle works. The first term comes down, 2b squared. The last term comes down. This middle term gets split up into positive 1b minus 4b. Now I have 4 terms in my polynomial, so I'm going to factor this by grouping. When I group, the first group, I look for a greatest common factor. In this one, it looks just like the only greatest common factor is a b. So I'm going to factor a b out in front. And when I do that, I'm left with 2 plus 1. The b's cancel off. Oh, 2b, I'm sorry, 2b plus 1. Now this second term, there's a negative in front, which means my GCF is going to be negative. And it looks like I can pull out a negative 2. So when I pull out a negative 2, here I have a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive 2b. And then on the right here, anything divided by itself is positive 1. Now, as I always say, this is good because those two parentheses look exactly the same. So those got together in one set. And then b minus 2, the GCFs go in another binomial. Using the zero product law, it tells us that I now, to solve this, set each factor equal to 0 and solve for b. So on the left here, I'm going to start by subtracting 1. We'll have 2b equals negative 1, and then divide by 2. So one solution to this problem is negative 1/2. The other solution, when I add 2, is b equals positive 2. We have 2 different solutions to this quadratic. The next one we're going to work on is number 12. This is not set equal to 0, so to start, I need to move this negative 8 by adding it to the other side. That'll make it set equal to 0 here. Now what I get when I add that is x squared minus 4x, and negative 8 plus 8 is 0. So I don't have to write it down, I can skip just to the equal sign. Now in order to factor this, I can't split the middle because I only have 2 terms. So I always look for a GCF to start. And it does look like I have a GCF because there's an x in both terms. So I'm going to divide x out. I pull the x out in front, and I'm left with x minus 4. Now I can't factor that anymore. So I set each factor equal to 0. I'll take x equal to 0 and x minus 4 equal to 0. Well, I don't have to solve this one. There's nothing to solve. I already have x equals. So one solution is at 0. That's where 1x intercept is. This one, when I add 4 to both sides, I get another solution at x equals 4. So it was a little bit faster. All right, one more problem here. 7r squared minus 14r plus 7. I'm set equal to 0, so I can start factoring. I always look for a GCF first. And it does look like there's a GCF this time. It looks like I can divide a 7 out of all of the terms. So I'm going to divide a 7 out. And inside my parentheses, I'm going to be left with r squared minus 2r plus 1. You have to write the 1 there. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So that 7 GCF is just going to hang out in front while I factor what's inside the parentheses. So I need two numbers that multiply to 1 and add to negative 2. So since I'm multiplying to be a positive, I need two positive or two negative. This negative 2 is a negative number, so I'm going to need two negatives. So here I'm going to have negative 1 and negative 1. All right, my 7 stays in front. I'm going to put brackets. You can use parentheses. I'm going to split the middle here. So I have the r squared and the plus 1 stay the same. Inside, I'm going to split that up into minus 1r minus 1r. Now I have 4 terms inside my bracket. I'm going to group them together to finish factoring here. The 7 stays out in front. And I pull out a GCF. So from the first group, it looks like they both have an r in common. So I can pull an r out, and what I'm left with is r minus 1. In the second group, I have a negative to start. So I need to divide out a negative, and the only thing they have in common is a negative 1. So when I pull out a negative 1, I'm left with positive r minus 1. Well, to finish here, that 7 GCF comes down. And my two factors here, I have what's inside my parentheses, r minus 1. And then I have my GCFs, r minus 1. Now to solve this, I only set the factors that have an r equal to 0. 7 doesn't have an r. If I set 7 equal to 0, that's a false statement. That says 7 equal to 0. That's not true. So we don't even set that one equal to 0. We only set what has an r equal to 0. Well, here when I solve, I get r equals 1. And then it turns out when I solve this one too, I also get r equals 1. So that means there's only one solution. This time it's the same solution for both. R equals 1. All right, if you have other questions, check the key on Canvas or ask your teacher for some help.